Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, July 4th edition of the MMAOB Daily Show. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. Going to be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. Happy Independence Day to my American viewers and listeners. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Got a lot to talk about today, a lot of fight announcements and some news, so I'll get right into it. But first and foremost, follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin and follow this podcast at youtube.com/MMAOddsbreaker. Go to MMAOddsbreaker.com for all your fight news. Also check me out at sherdog.com, bjpen.com, MMAnews.com, and MMArings.net. So let's get right into it, guys. A couple of really big fight announcements yesterday. It seems like they're just coming out of nowhere these days. So we'll start with UFC Copenhagen. We all thought the main event was going to be Jack Hermansson versus Kelvin Gastelum. Well, we got half of that right. It's actually going to be Jack Hermansson versus Jared Cannonier. And funny enough, Malky Kawa, the super agent, actually announced this fight. I believe he's the agent of Jared Cannonier. He went and announced the fight on Twitter. He actually went and said yesterday, Malky Kawa did. He's also John Jones' agent and a bunch of other fighters and some NFL players, if I'm not mistaken. He said that he's going to be announcing fights for his clients from now on. He's not going to be using journalists as middlemen anymore. So that's kind of interesting. We'll see how that goes going forward. But for now, he did make a big fight announcement, and Brett Okamoto confirmed it like an hour later. So yes, the main event of UFC Copenhagen is Jack Hermansson versus Jared Cannonier, and I'm a little surprised by the matchup, but I actually like it. It's a good fight. Jack Hermansson's looked amazing lately. That win over Jacare Souza was absolutely incredible. Breakthrough performance. He's won 4 straight fights. He looks like an elite guy right now. Jared Cannonier's coming off back-to-back wins over David Branch and Anderson Silva. I was at the Anderson Silva fight in Brazil. I thought he broke his leg. I mean, it looked like Anderson had some sort of like lower limb injury anyways. But yeah, it was a good performance by Cannonier. He's a good fighter for sure. He looks a lot better at middleweight. I definitely favor Jack Hermansson in this fight, though. I mean, the guy is just an absolute monster. He's looked amazing lately. And he's going to be fighting very close to home as well. He's Norwegian, and I think he lives in Sweden now. Great fighter. I was so blown away by his performance against. And by the way, sorry, he's actually Swedish and lives in Norway. I got that backwards. But yes, I was absolutely blown away by his performance against Jacare. So the guy's just a phenomenal fighter, and I would assume he's going to be the favorite in this fight. Although Cannonier does have KO power, you can't completely count the guy out, and he does deserve this opportunity. And you know what? As much as I want to see the Kelvin fight, Kelvin just had a chance to fight Israel Adesanya for the title and lost, or the intro title anyways, and he lost. So he's got to, I think, probably win another fight before he gets right back into that number 1 contender spot, because with the timing of the event, I'm pretty sure the winner of this fight will be fighting the winner of Adesanya and Whitaker for the championship, maybe in the early 2020s. Crazy how we've got there already, but yeah, the 2019, I guess, well, this is September 28th. And that fight between Whitaker and Adesanya is in early October. So great fight. And one other fight was announced for early October, another main event of UFC San Francisco. So I think that's the first time they're going to San Fran, which is pretty cool. It's at the Chase Center, this event. That's the new home of the Golden State Warriors. Joanna Jedrzejczyk is taking on Michelle Waterson in the main event of that card. So that's an interesting fight as well. I talked about this fight with Cole Shelton yesterday on the preview podcast for UFC 239, which you guys can check out, by the way. I like this fight. I'm not 100% sure I like it as a main event, though, to be completely honest. I don't know. I just feel like it could be 5 rounds, and some of the rounds might not be that exciting. Don't get me wrong. They're both good fighters. I enjoy watching them both fight. I just think stylistically, this might not be the most exciting matchup. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a barn burner. Who knows? But I feel like there's going to be a lot of clinching and stuff in this fight, just kind of neutralizing each other's strengths. Joanna, obviously, a great striker. Michelle Waterson's got great striking too, but she's been using her wrestling a little bit more lately. I feel like she's going to try to wrestle Joanna in this fight. I don't think she'll want to stand with her. It's a good fight. I would have rather seen it for 3 rounds, if I'm being completely honest. I think they could have had a better main event for that card, but this is the main event, so no complaints anymore, because I can't complain because it's the main event. So it is what it is. I tend to favor Joanna a little bit just because I do think she is the better fighter, and I think she is the better striker, but Waterson has looked good. She's on a 3-fight win streak, whereas Joanna's actually lost 3 of the last 4 fights. So 2 fighters going the opposite directions right now, but Joanna's a former champ, and I still believe in her despite the last couple fights where she's lost. We can forget about the Valentina fight and the fights before that. She beat Tisha Torres, and then she had a couple losses, but I still think she's a great fighter, and we'll see what happens in this fight. The winner, I would assume, gets a title shot against the winner of Andrade versus Weili Zhang, especially if it's Joanna, because she's already beaten Andrade, and if Andrade beats Zhang, it makes sense to give her a rematch, I would assume, at that point. So we'll see what happens. Again, I think it's a good fight, but I don't know if it's a main event. What else? Got a couple other fight announcements here. Joanne Calderwood versus Andrea Lee has been set for UFC 244. Good fight here. A little surprising considering Joanne Calderwood just actually lost her last fight against Tukhugov, and now she's facing Andrea Lee, who's won 7 straight fights. So Joanne Calderwood has actually looked good at flyweight. She won fights against Ariane Lipsky and Kalindra Faria, as well as Valerie Letourneau a couple of years ago. That was the first ever flyweight bout. But then she lost to Tukhugov in her last fight. Wasn't very impressed with her performance there. And again, I'm a little surprised that they gave her this fight instead of actually the fighter that Andrea Lee beat, Montana De La Rosa. I think that would have made more sense to do De La Rosa versus Calderwood and Lee versus Tukhugov. But maybe they're going to give Lee the title shot or Tukhugov the title shot. I'm not 100% sure. It's a little strange considering you're matching a fighter on a win off a loss versus one on a long win streak here. In the case of Andrea Lee, 7 straight wins, and she's looked great. Beat Veronica Macedo, beat Ashley Evans-Smith, beat Montana De La Rosa. And I was really impressed with their performance against De La Rosa, who I think is a really good young fighter in that division. So Andrea Lee looked really good in that fight. And I definitely favor her to beat Joanne Calderwood. I just don't think you can trust Joanne Calderwood. She looks good at times. Other times she doesn't look very good. It's not someone I could trust. And Andrea Lee's ex-husband, Donnie Aaron's back in the news again. The guy apparently skipped his, what was it? Let me just get the article out here. I think he skipped like a court order or something like that. Yeah. Fails to appear at arraignment for domestic battery charges, and a warrant has been issued for his arrest again. So the guy is just a complete mess. And yeah, I mean, if you read that story, he allegedly beat up Andrea Lee, which is just terrible. So yeah, awful, but I had to mention it. Also, UFC 242 has another big fight announced. Well, not a big fight, but an interesting fight here. The boys at MMA DNL broke this news, so good job, Marcel, breaking this news. I like this fight. And Marcel is great. Marcel Dorff, follow him on Twitter. He's great. And his Instagram is great too. So Zubaira Tukhugov is fighting Damir Ismagulov. And I really like this fight. Great fight. Zubaira Tukhugov, of course, has been suspended for a while since that incident with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor. He's 3-1 overall in the UFC. Beat Douglas Silva de Andrade, Ernest Chavez, and Philip Nover, and then lost to Renato Moicano by split decision. That was back in 2016. He has not fought since, so he's been away from the sport for a long time. Now he's taking on Damir Ismagulov. Excuse me, got his name right. And he's looked great in the UFC. He beat Alex Gorges and he beat Joel Alvarez. And Alvarez just looked amazing in his last fight, so that's actually a good win. I think he's on a 13-fight win streak right now, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty damn impressive. Yes, 13-fight win streak. Very, very impressive. This guy's looked great. I would favor him this fight, but I mean, with Khabib and all those guys fighting on the same card, maybe it's going to give Tukhugov a little bit of a boost here. We'll see what happens. But yes, that card it looks really good. I like the matchups on that card. This is another good one. I think Ismagulov is a really good prospect, and Tukhugov has looked really good at times as well. So great fight, and good job with the boys at MMA DNL for breaking that one. Couple pieces of news before I get out of here. Gegard Mousasi is back in the news. He obviously had that fight with Rafael Lovato Jr. a few weeks ago. Lost a split decision. By the way, that fight is available on YouTube now on Bellator's channel, so go and check that out. Good fight, interesting fight. Lovato Jr. won the fight, and now Gegard Mousasi is accusing him of taking PEDs, just like he did with Lyoto Machida those years ago, where he said he was greasing. We later found out Lyoto actually did take PEDs. I don't know if it was for that fight, but he was later caught. I mean, it's hard to accuse a guy when he doesn't have any proof. And apparently Mike Mazzulli, who was the commission for that fight, he said that they did test Rafael Lovato Jr. and didn't find anything in his urine. So I don't know. It's coming off as Gegard coming off like a sore loser here. But, who knows? Maybe there's something to this. He was in the cage with the guy. He'll know better than us. But, yeah, I mean, the guy was tested and came back negative. So it's kind of hard to go and say, hey, this guy was on PEDs. But, Mousasi definitely has his reasons. I think he wants a rematch. I think he's just trying to generate some interest for that rematch, but I don't think he needs to do it this way. I think we all want to see that rematch anyways. It was a close fight. The first one, Mousasi's a great champion. I think he deserves to fight Lovato Jr. again. We'll see what happens the second time they do fight, because I do think that fight is next, although Mousasi did say he thinks Machida could possibly be next as well. So either of those fights would be interesting rematches. All right, a couple other pieces of news. My buddy Aaron Bronstetter is actually down in Las Vegas right now. I believe it was the Fighters Only Awards last night. He talked to a bunch of fighters, and a couple interesting news items came up. First of all, let's start with Justin Gaethje. He actually interviewed Gaethje, and Gaethje said he turned down a short notice fight against Tony Ferguson at UFC 238, which later went on to Cowboy. And Tony Ferguson won the fight with TKO. And I can't blame Justin Gaethje for turning down the fight. It was on short notice. and it was against a killer in Tony Ferguson. He said, I just wanted more notice. He said he would have fought him this weekend at UFC 239, and we know Justin Gaethje's not a guy who turns on fights. So I hope people don't go and say, oh, this guy's ducking Ferguson. He's not ducking him. He just wanted more of a camp than a month. Cerrone had just fought against Iaquinta. He was fresh. He was ready to go. He's also a guy that doesn't really need training camps, as we know. So to me, it's really not that big of a story as far as Justin turning down the fight. But it's interesting the UFC wanted to book that fight because I think that's a fight a lot of fans want to see. And who knows? I mean, depending on what happens with Khabib and Poirier, Ferguson might actually have to fight again. And if he does, I think Gaethje makes a lot of sense. Although at this point, I think Ferguson probably should get a title shot because he's on such a long win streak. Also, Tito Ortiz was interviewed by Aaron, and Tito Ortiz said Golden Boy MMA is dead, and he had some harsh words, I guess, for the promoter there. What's his name? Oscar De La Hoya. He said basically Oscar didn't do his homework, and Oscar can promote boxing, but he doesn't know how to promote MMA. You know, kind of harsh words. That event didn't do that well. It was an okay event. I remember watching it. It was actually a decent event. There were some good fights on it. Matchmaking was okay. The main event wasn't great, but there were some guys like Deron Wynn was on the card. There was a couple other guys in the prelims that were interesting as well. But yes, it looks like Golden Boy MMA is dead. They had the one card. They made a little bit of money. I don't know. They probably ended up losing some money because they probably played Chuck and Tito quite a bit to fight. But yeah, I mean, when you have a main event like Chuck and Tito, and Chuck's like 50 years old, like you can see why people were kind of harsh towards him. But yeah, it looks like Oscar's back in the boxing business and out of the MMA business. So I had to mention that. And finally, one last headline to talk about here. Tyron Woodley was also interviewed, and he said he wants to fight Kamaru Usman again. He wants a rematch. He basically said with Kamaru till November and him being out as well, it makes sense for him to fight when he gets back. I completely disagree with Tyron Woodley here. I get it. He was a dominating champion for a little while there, won a couple fights and defended his belt a few times. But that fight against Usman was a complete beatdown. I don't think anyone wants to see that fight again right now anyways. Let Woodley go back and train and get better. I mean, clearly he wasn't ready for Usman's wrestling. I don't know if anyone will be, but he wasn't ready at all. With Colby Covington, with Ben Askren, with Corey Masvidal out there, there's just no way Tyron Woodley can get a next title shot. It wouldn't be a fight fans would want to see, and I think they wouldn't even buy that pay-per-view. Just no one wants to see that fight when there's so many other deserving candidates to get that title shot. So, you know, Tyron Woodley, maybe he does deserve a title shot. Maybe he does deserve to fight again for the belt that he held for a couple years, but not now. There's just too many other contenders. He's going to have to get back out there, win a fight, and then we'll see what happens. And I think that's it that I want to talk about for today, guys. So thanks again for joining me. And again, happy 4th of July to all the Americans. Follow me on Twitter at @MMAOB. Follow the podcast at MMAOddsmaker.com and on our YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, check me out at SureDog.com, BJPenn.com, MMAnews.com, and MMARings.net. I have a bunch of stuff out right now. Go to my Twitter account if you want to see all the stuff, or just check out those websites I mentioned. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the Friday.